I work in the complaints department of a pharmaceutical company. Today, I received a call from the Grim Reaper. The phone rang loudly, and undeterred by the hatred I felt towards it. It was the first phone call of the day. The first tortuous encounter I would have with a disgruntled customer. I know it is my job to answer these calls, and I willingly applied for this position, but that was 6 years ago. It was just supposed to be a temporary job, but somehow time got away from me, and I was still stuck here. I just wished, for once, I could call the customers and complain about them. The phone continued ringing and I couldn't delay the inevitable any longer. I hesitantly picked it up and placed it to my ear. "Hello, Luxon Pharmaceuticals. How may I help you?" I said in the kindest voice I could muster. The line was silent for a moment before a deep, but quite soothing and pleasant voice began to speak. "Hello. I am ringing because I have a complaint," the soothing voice said down the phone. "I'm sorry to hear that, sir. What is the complaint about?" "I've been biting my tongue for a while. I've tried my best to not complain, I really have, but I couldn't keep quiet any longer." "So, you have an ongoing issue then, sir?" "Yes, you could certainly say that. It started quite a while ago now, and it has been getting worse and worse. Your drugs. Your medicine. It works too well." "It works too well?" I answered, confused as to why someone would complain about a medicine working too well. "Yes, and almost everybody is taking something. My business is slowing down, and I believe it is the fault of your company, and businesses like yours." "Your business is slowing down? What business are you exactly?" I asked. The only business I could think of that might be affected by people taking medicine would be funeral homes, but it still wouldn't make sense for a funeral director to ring and complain that our drugs help people live longer. The man on the other end of the phone let out a loud sigh, and I could almost sense him rubbing his forehead in frustration. He then spoke, in a slightly annoyed tone. "I am in the business of death. In fact, I am quite well known for it. I'm even named after in fact. I am known as Death himself. You know, the Grim Reaper. Of course, a prank caller. It wasn't often that you would receive a call from someone who thought they were a comedian, but occasionally it did happen. Sir, this phone number is for people with serious inquiries, or actual complaints. It is not for people to ring to get a bit of a laugh out of it," I responded, still trying to sound professional. "I'm not pranking you. I do have a genuine complaint." "You really expect me to believe you are the Grim Reaper?" "Yeah, I don't think so. Goodbye." I was in the process of placing the phone back into its cradle, when I heard his voice yell down the phone. "Don't you dare hang up on me," he yelled in a voice that sounded even deeper than it had before. It sounded as if he wasn't even threatening me, he was almost commanding me not to hang up on him. I was shocked at the sudden outburst, and I quickly placed the phone back to my ear, and mumbled down the line. "I'm sorry that I snapped like that. I know it's not polite. But, I have a complaint, and it's your job to listen to me." I didn't know how to respond. Something about this man was frightening, and he was completely serious. I didn't respond to him, but I kept quiet and waited for him to speak again. Now, where was I? "Oh, that's right. I have a grievance with the medicine that you provide to the public. The average lifespan has drastically risen, which means less work for me and my crew. In fact, I had to lay off 3 staff members in just the past week alone. I now felt that I had no option but to play along with what he was saying, so I tried my best to seem interested and willing to help. "I am sorry to hear about your staff, redundancies are never good." "You're telling me?" I felt horrible when I had to give them the pink slip, but hey, everything's business. Even death. At this stage, I was growing impatient, and wanted to end the call. I knew that he wasn't going to stop until he felt I had listened to him. So, I tried my best to steer the conversation to its conclusion. "So, how can we resolve your complaint, sir?" I asked, desperately hoping he would tell me something quickly, and then hang up. "I need you to stop selling your pharmaceuticals. It's the only solution I can think of." "I'm sorry, sir, but we cannot do that. You must realize that it's not something we can realistically do." Bugger. I hoped that this would mark the end of our phone conversation, but when he continued to speak, I quickly realized it wasn't. I used to be so busy. In the 14th century, I really had my work cut out for me. I complained about it then, but now I wish I still had that high volume of souls to collect. Was all I could reply. "You know it's getting bad when there are openings to become ghosts. There haven't been any ghost vacancies since the Victorian era, but now there are plenty. You know what? I should go on holiday." "Why not start the holiday right now?" I suggested. "Yeah, that would shake things up a bit. Give you lots something to worry about. I could cease the circle of life. Sure, you would love it at first. No more deaths. But things would soon get out of hand. That would be interesting." "Sir, I think I'm going to have to end this phone call now," I told him, hoping he would let me leave this time. "Well, I hope you have written down my complaint, and will hand it over to management. If not, I'm sure I could change some things around, and come and collect you a bit early," and I'm sure you wouldn't like that. His tone changed from casual to quite serious during that sentence, making me believe that he might actually be serious about coming to get me. I didn't actually think I was talking to death, but this could actually be a dangerous person that wanted to do me harm. Anyway, I better get going, the deep voice said. I have an appointment coming up. One I can't be late for. The phone then let out a loud beeping noise, indicating that I had been hung up on. I breathed a sigh of relief, thankful that he was actually gone. My relief didn't last long though, as I heard a strange choking sound coming from the cubicle next to me. It started off small, like someone clearing their throat, but it steadily grew louder. Soon, it sounded as if someone was really struggling to dislodge something in their throat. I jumped out of my seat and ran over to the neighboring cubicle. When I looked in, I saw my coworker Jenny, clawing at her throat. She was clearly choking on something that was stuck inside her gullet. I ran over to help her by wrapping my arms around her waist and attempted the Heimlich maneuver. I had never tried it before and almost all my knowledge of it came from films. I firmly jolted her a few times, and then the choking noise stopped. Jenny fell to the floor, and I thought I might have just saved her life. I looked down at her and saw her bloodshot eyes, and her unmoving chest. I hadn't saved her. She had died right in front of me. I screamed out for help, and a couple of people came running out of their cubicles to see what was going on. They saw Jenny lying motionless on the ground, and rushed over to help. I watched on as 5 people tried to come to Jenny's aid. It was the 6th figure that I saw that truly disturbed me. Down the end of the room, behind all my colleagues, I saw someone draped in a black cloth robe. It covered their entire body, and most of their face. I got a glimpse of a chalk-white face that sat underneath the hood of the robe. I also saw 2 white hands protruded from underneath the robe, and one hand clutched a long stick. Well, a scythe to be exact. I let out a squeal when I saw him. Death. The Grim Reaper. I was sure it was him. I only saw him for a second before he demineralized and was gone. I jumped up and tried to run to the spot where he was just standing, but it was now an empty space. Someone call an ambulance, I heard someone shout, bringing me consciously back into the room. I sprinted over to my cubicle and reached out to grab the phone. As I did, it began to ring. I answered it. There was no mistaking the voice. It was the same man I had spoken to before. He started speaking straight away. Turns out your friend was scheduled to be with me today. What a coincidence. I've also checked my diary to see when your appointment is. I'll see you tomorrow.